What is going on, guys? My name is Dustin and welcome back to Disc Central. As you can see, this video format is a little different. This is not a live commentary. I am commentating over top of this. I played a little practice round at the park today and I'm throwing my crank right now. But I just wanted to kind of rewatch this footage and commentate over it and just kind of tell you guys what I did, what my thoughts were going through with this, and yeah, just kind of talk about the course a little bit here. So basically today was just a practice round. I was just kind of looking for ways to shape my shots, maybe take different lines that I normally wouldn't take on a hole, try different throws, kind of put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit instead of just trying to do the same drive over and over again. I'm just trying to expand my throws and my options, that way I can start having better drives in the future. Hole 1 drive was pretty okay. The approach shot could have been a little bit better, and as you can see here, I'm still working on my putting a little bit, but it just not quite enough angle on it. It probably would have almost curved down into the basket had I would have thrown it a little bit better, but it is what it is. You live and you learn, right? The only way to get better at it is to practice. So I decided to take my camera out and practice. I also want to note later on in this video I did have to skip hole 7, and I will mention that. There's a family that rented out a pavilion right next to hole 7, and they were playing football, and that's like the only grass area around them, so like I really didn't want to have them move so I could drive and look like an idiot because I have a ginormous tripod now. So yeah, here I'm throwing my buzz, and as you can see I threw it right into the ground and I was not happy about it. It could have been a pretty good shot, but I just threw it too low. So I'm kind of off to the right-hand side here. You can see me there. And I just threw that like an idiot. I don't even know why I did that or what was going through my head. I just released. I just didn't take my time. So here I am actually going for a pretty far putt uphill. This basket kind of sits out on a weird slope, but I just laid it up. I didn't even want to try to throw it in because I didn't want to overthrow it and have it roll down to that base of the hill behind me there. So I just went for a layup there. If I would have had a better drive, that definitely would have been a nice par. Here I'm trying to go ahead and forehand my Brodie Smith ESP Avenger SS. And I wanted to kind of try to go to the right instead of straight down the middle because this disc does kind of curve a little to the left, and I didn't want to be out in the open, so I wanted to take the line kind of to the right. And you can see I shoot this gap between the Y and the tree. It's beautiful, and the drive actually went up there pretty far. You didn't get to see it land on camera, but it was actually a really good drive, and I have a good look at the basket if you can see here. So honestly, a slight little hyzer line here and things will work out. And you can either make it in or definitely have a really, really close putt. I threw my Buzz SS here, and it just kind of caught the top of that branch. If I would have threw it maybe just a little lower, I would have laid it up a little nicer, but it kind of caught the top of that branch and just fell straight down, which kind of hurt me a little bit there because, you know, now I'm not as close as what I'd like to be. And there I go, overthrowing. It definitely, from my angle, looked like it was going to go in. And that's the thing about disc golf, man. It kind of really plays tricks on you. It definitely looks like it has a lot of potential, and you can either come up short or overshoot. And in this case, I did, in fact, overshoot the basket. It's very noisy where I live, too. A lot of these tees are right by a main road. I've mentioned it in previous videos. This is becoming one of my favorite holes here. Hole 4. As you see, I'll throw my crank, and I kind of like taking that line right there, kind of hanging it out over the road, which happens to be OB. And if you get it to land just right, it can skip. I also use the Z-Flex plastic on my crank, so it doesn't really, like, I said crank weird, Jesus. It doesn't really skip as much. Sometimes it just hits the ground at a certain way and just bends and stops. But I definitely would like to pick up another crank and maybe a different plastic and see how I feel about it. And I actually tried to run the putt there. Not a bad shot. It leaves me for a really easy par, so really can't complain there. Again, I wasn't necessarily going for score, just trying to get my drives down, because this is a course that eventually I would really like to have a good run on. So if I can come out here and practice and show you guys that, that's perfect. I think here I released just a little too high, and I didn't throw far enough right. I think I had a little too much hyzer angle on it, and it's just a little too high, if I remember correctly. It wasn't too bad of a throw. Just if I would have aimed more right and maybe just a tiny bit lower, it would have worked out a little more. You can kind of see the baskets kind of sitting in the shade of that big tree down there. So I had a guy walking to my right, walking his dog. I had people driving by, and you'll see when I get closer to the basket, there's this lady walking her dog, and as I go to putt, she like mumbles something. I don't know what she said. I don't know if she was talking to the dog or what, but again, another instance where I just didn't aim far enough to the right. She should be walking her dog here real soon, and you'll see her and exactly what I mean. But I don't know if you can hear her on camera. She like mumbles something as I'm like in the middle of my throw, and I looked at her because I thought she was saying something to me. Just went for a little approach there, laid it up real nice. And then I missed the world's easiest putt in disc golf. There she is walking her dog right there. And as I'm like lining up my throw, you can see she's looking down. She says something. It throws off my putt. And I was so mad that I even missed that. The thing is, carrying this tripod around, people look at you differently. And I actually had a lady, I tried filming this at like 10:30 this morning. And I ended up losing the footage, unfortunately, but I definitely had a better round this time. This is just a bad throw on my part here. Way, way too high. Way far left. Just a bad throw. The basket's straight ahead of me. You can kind of see it a little bit on camera. But this lady actually confronted me earlier about carrying my tripod through the park, and she told me that I wasn't allowed to film there and everything else. So this is a public park, and I told her, like, hey, look, I'm not filming you. I'm not filming anybody. I'm filming myself. You know, you're not even on camera. And she just was not a very pleasant person to deal with, but I just ignored it and just went on with my round this morning as well. Right here, you probably heard me there. Everybody was driving through. And the problem is with this park is there's a big loop, and I like to take kind of that wide look and to come into the basket, because sometimes you can just get a really nice hyzer line because it's nice and open, and sometimes just hanging OB a little bit there is a really good choice, and the chances of hitting a car are slim, but I don't want to take that risk, so I always let people drive through. And I believe here I'm going for a layup. You can kind of see that pavilion through the trees. That's where the family is, because hole 7's right over there. And they were playing football in that big field. So we're going to cut straight to hole 8 here pretty soon, as soon as I get to my putt. Boom. So here's hole 8. You can hear the family in the background. They're over to my right. And I had a lady in a car right, and there's a little gravel path lined by rocks. And this lady was probably 10 feet away from me in her car, talking on the phone, staring at me as I'm trying to throw this drive. And again, just released it way too high, way too much hyzer, not where I want to be. Okay, so now I don't have a terrible look at the basket. The basket's right on the other side of that small pine tree and kind of that taller tree you see there. I just kind of threw just a little forehand layup thing just to kind of put myself in position. It just kind of skipped the wrong way. I wish it would have went a little more left, but all in all, it's not like a terrible look. You'll see as soon as I go down here, I'm going to get where that putter landed. I'm going to get where that putter landed. Yes, Dustin, learn how to English. I ended up missing it again, and you can see that pavilion in the background. That's where hole 7 is. You can see the people running around in the field through the tree. Just overthrew. Normally I underthrow those putts. I just overthrew it, and by this time I was sweaty, I was hot, I was frustrated because I really wanted to play hole 7, and I just wasn't having it at this point. I was ready to go home and eat. I was hungry after not eating anything all day, so the frustration set in. Now, I like shooting this gap on the right-hand side here. You'll see there's like a cluster of 3 or 4 trees. And I threw this Avenger SS perfect. It's going, it's hyzering, and it just catches this branch the wrong way and just fell straight down. Had it would have been a little bit lower, I definitely would have cleared that area and we would have been right up by the basket. I'm explaining why I skipped pull 7. I'm also showing where the drive is compared to where the basket is here.
Not going to ask them to move so I can embarrass myself with a tripod in front of them.
So I'm walking over there to grab the putt. And I actually run it here. I actually kind of go for a shot here. It's really not a bad look. Just kind of have to throw a little bit anhyzer, and there it goes. Almost, so close. It actually almost nicked the cage. It was really hard to see on camera. It just came in a little too low. And then here we go. Boom, putt ends it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you guys. Pick up a Paul McBeth Luna. That's what I'm throwing here. Love this putter. Goodbye.